Howdy, Coach. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All righty. We'll get started with Mike Lucas from KX.
Hey, Coach, was just hoping you could kind of walk us through the last play design and how tough the shot Andre hit there for the game winner.
We probably had spent more time thus far over the last 3 weeks on special teams than we have since we've been here. Both of our league opponents thus far, Mike, have unique defenses on out of bounds and sideline out of bounds. Our staff's done a great job of presenting that, teaching it, installing the actions. I thought we did really good, both out of bounds offense and defense. We subbed Zach in on every out of bounds play that Auburn ran. I don't think that they scored in their 5 out of bounds plays under. The one thing that I want to say about Dre, the action of the play is not how he scored. They stopped the action. But I think his willingness to step into that moment is who he is. Obviously, we signed him at Virginia Tech before we came here. And the one thing that I just said, Mike, to the radio is I think guys that are not scared of that sort of moment are the ones that are willing to carry the burden if in that moment it doesn't go right. There's a lot of guys that want to be in the moment if it goes right, but the separator is when it doesn't go right, can they carry the burden of that? And Dre can. And he's not scared, good or bad, but the action is not why we scored, the action relative to the out-of-bounds play. It was what he did after the action that led to it. A 2-footed play that we spent time working on that he executed, and he wasn't scared to take the shot.
Dre mentioned to us that that's a situation you like him to be in, playing off 2 feet because he's a little bit of a smaller guard. So is it, as a coach, gratifying to see some of the stuff that you guys specifically work on in practice come to fruition in the biggest moments?
The thing that I'm most grateful for today, Mike, is how we figuratively trained for this fight. It was the first time that emotionally I felt like we were connected physically, mentally. I think our staff and our team we were off on Wednesday, but how we worked on Thursday, how we worked on Friday, at least allowed us to be in this position. I didn't necessarily know if it was going to be a win, but we had not even been in this position. And that's been because of how we have had inconsistency on the days prior to the game. I didn't necessarily think that, maroon team, this is your group. White team, this is your group. You're going to play a media timeout, and Al McGuire from yesteryear, it's scrambled eggs, and we're going to sub 5 guys at a time. I didn't think it would end up being that the entire game. I thought it would get us maybe through middle of the first half, but that's how we trained on Thursday, Friday. That's even what we did today, Mike, in shoot around. What we did in watching film, we were doing it in groups as teams, maroon and white. And I mean, I've never coached a game. I'm sure it's happened before. When you look at the disbursement of minutes and the evenness that came from it, it was because of the maroon team and the white team.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Jessica from KBTX.
Hey, I think you kind of also just touched on this a little bit with Mike's answer, but after LSU, you said you wanted to see more effort or consistency and effort. I guess, did you get that today? Is this what you wanted to see?
I thought, yeah, thanks for asking. I think it's the only time that whether you were here or if you were watching it, it's the only time from start to finish that you felt there was evidence of discipline in how we competed. I think it was the only time, regardless of who was on the floor, that you felt as if everybody was trying to play to the scouting report. I think it was the first time all year, even the games that we paid to play, that you felt like everybody was connected emotionally, mentally, and physically relative to what we were trying to do. Obviously, I'm thankful that we won, but a portion of why it was a game was because of all of those things that I just mentioned. I think I understand it's still young in the season. It was only our 8th game, but it was the first time that our program felt like we were all pulling in the same direction. So that is encouraging.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Chip Howard of Sports Talk.
Buzz, are we going to see more 5 in, 5 out because of what
Yeah.
happened today?
It's the damnedest thing. I mean, I know you've been around and you've probably seen that before. I was just, based on Jessica's question, I was just trying to figure out something instead of giving possessions away. Let's see if Chip will work. Let's see if Logan will work. Let's see if Mike will work. Let's cut that out. Here, you 5 guys, you're a team. You 5 guys, you're a team. This is how we're going to practice. This is how we're going to play. This is how we're going to do everything. Like in shoot around today, we had one team on one end doing a certain task, one team on the other end doing a certain task. Even today in pregame warmup, maroon team's on the floor, white team is in the locker room doing film. Like we just kept preparing the same way. And like I said, Chip, I didn't necessarily think it would be a 200-minute deal. I thought maybe we could get to 85 minutes and then kind of reassess, okay, now who's ready? But other than maybe the last 3 or 4 possessions, I mean, I could feel the other team behind me going, Coach, it's our turn, not necessarily based on the media timeout, but the power of we relative to their team, like, Coach, that's not very good. It's time. We got to get in there. We got to stop this. And I think that, I mean, if that's what we need to do, I'm fine with it. But I have never done it for an entire game.
When they started hitting threes, and I guess you kind of figured at some point they were going to hit a few in a row.
Yes, sir.
They're in the second half. What did you try to do to either change or rotate differently when they got hot from the 3-point line?
But you know, you could study their numbers. A very unique team. Their last non-conference game, Chip, they shot 53 balls and 41 were from 3. In game number 1 in the SEC, they shot 27 from 3 and made 15. And as you know, our defense is predicated on making the opponent shoot more threes. So I'm not sure what the percentage of threes were they shot today, but probably in the same range as what they typically do. We did a really good job. 29% of the time, they got the ball to what we call the box. That's the lowest percentage since we have been at Texas A&M, regardless of opponent. 71% of the time, they never got to the box. And so we were able to keep the ball in front because we never got in rotation. And so we contested the highest number of threes that we have thus far this season. It wasn't perfect, but it was at least better than it has even been close to this year. And that was because we kept the ball out of the box. And I thought it was not one person. I thought it was all 5 guys really focused on being in their gaps and not allowing the ball to get to the box.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Rich C. and then Logan Lee.
Coach, I want to follow up on that threes a little bit because Q said that, you know, it was a little bit you guys just didn't close out, but like you say with an Auburn team, they're going to make a
Yes, sir.
run. So you guys got up when you got up your biggest lead. That's when they started hitting some. Did you just know that it had to come, or were you not closing out as well during the last 10, 15 minutes?
I would have to study it to be precise in my answer, but stereotypically speaking, some of our ball screen coverage in that last 10 or 12 minutes, I didn't think it was maybe as fundamentally sound as it had been in the first 30 minutes. And then I also think, you know, they made the 3 from the slot off the glass. I'm not sure how many shot clock violations they had. They are going to make threes. We contested more than we have all year. I do think that against a team like Auburn, who's so prolific in shooting threes, we could have done a better job in the last 10 or 12 minutes. But relative to our coverages and what we were trying to do, we didn't change anything, and we had been practicing exactly what we wanted to do. And numerically, I mean, they shot 33 out of 57 shots were from three, and they shot 33%. In the first half, they shot 7%. So those are numbers that I think we would take every time.
First half kind of ugly offensively, a lot of turnovers. When both teams are having turnovers, you're causing turnovers. Do you live with your turnovers a little bit more because that's kind of the way the game is going, or are you upset about
that? That's our. It's not the only thing, but it's for sure high on the priority list of where our inconsistency has come from. Our turnover rate is one of the highest in the country. And then the layer under that makes that stat even harder to deal with is we're one of the highest turnover rate teams on live balls. So to answer your question, we're turning the ball over way too much, way too much to be consistent. And then when we turn it over, it's a live ball. And so now it's a one pass shot and they're shooting 80%. Today in the first half, they scored 22 points. 9 points were off turnovers and they were all live ball. 6 points were when they got an offensive rebound, which is another priority of ours that we have to improve on. So 15 of their 22 points came off live ball turnovers or offensive putbacks. They only scored 7 points when our defense was set. We've got to get to the point we need to improve offensively. But one of the best improvements we could have is just don't give the ball to the other team, because it obviously kills our offense. There's not a shot attempt, an offensive rebound attempt, a free throw attempt, but it puts our defense in a very negative, broken floor situation. And so we need our offense not necessarily to be good. We just need our offense not to be so bad at giving the team the other ball, because it really puts undue stress on a defense. And no matter how good your defense is, you don't want to play in an disadvantage situation repeatedly.
One last thing real quick. Can you just talk about Chandler on Flanagan in the second half? Thought he did a pretty good job, especially chasing him around.
I think JJ is our best positional defender. I think he's been our best positional defender since we've been here. When JJ doesn't reach and is in the right position, he's easily our best defender. And he has gotten to the point that he stopped reaching. And you couple that with he understands relative to his IQ where he's supposed to be positionally, it allows him to guard a really good offensive player who has the ultimate green light in him.
Did you miss that against LSU then?
We missed any level of competitive spirit and willingness to fight regardless of name.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
All right, next we'll go to Logan Lee and then Michael Horton.
Coach, in the games past, E-Man and Q and Dre have been talked about immensely. They've done a great job. What are your thoughts on Jackson Robinson's growth? And really, he hit that three on the fast break to give you a 10-point lead. There was a timeout called, and I think your entire bench ran up and just congratulated him, was hype about him. It looked really nice on the court.
They love Jax, Logan. Our kids love Jax. And he, I know because of the virus, you haven't been able to spend as much time around us, but his demeanor, his spirit, he's a beautiful human being. He's a better person than you are, but his parents are very similar to yours. Like, they have raised him like in the encyclopedia, how to be a good parent. They're in there. He's had the best week. I understand he's the youngest player in the country, but he's had the best week of training he's had since he's been here. He's starting to kind of figure out how hard you have to play. He's starting to figure out how hard it is to be successful at this level. I thought this was his best week for sure against the best two games we've had through 8 games. and he earned the right to start. It wasn't given to him. And he's getting to the point where he knows what to do. And because he's working harder on a daily basis, true confidence can only come from your work. And that's why you see him shooting to make it. That's why you see him run stepping as the ball moves. Like he's starting to figure it out. 7 rebounds in 18 minutes at LSU. And you can look this up. I don't know the exact number, but in the 4 non-conference games he played in, I think he played 29 minutes. In non-conference play, Jackson had 1 total rebound, 1 total. And then at LSU, he had 7. And I think he shot 6 balls at LSU, and 5 of the 6, everybody in the program thought he was going to make it. And I think that his consistency and how he's starting to prepare his mind, he's doing more in the gym, he's doing more in the weight room. As he gains some strength, like he needs a lot of muscle. He wouldn't beat you in an arm wrestling contest yet, but once he gets to the point where he can, he's going to have a chance to be a really good player.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to Michael Horton of the Battalion, and then we'll finish up with Chip Howard.
Hey, Coach. So Emmanuel Miller had a season high 16 field goal attempts. Did you intend for him to be more involved in the offense as he's improved?
I didn't know that stat until you told me. I don't think he necessarily took a bad shot. He's a hard guard because he can score from a variety of ways. When he gets the ball going downhill and he plays off 2 feet, I think he has the propensity to be fouled at a very high rate. He didn't shoot any free throws today, and I think that's the first time. This is 8 games. He didn't play game 1. So in the 7 games, I think this is the first time he hasn't been to the free throw line. His points per possession, considering his game, is really high. He's a very efficient player. And so I do think he got more touches. I think a little bit of that was my answer with Chip. 5 guys, maroon, white, like on his team. They kind of knew where to give him the ball and when it was his turn. And he's a very unselfish player, but he's also a hard guard.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll finish up with Chip Howard.
Buzz, I hate to ask you about the next game since you haven't had a chance to enjoy this one yet,
Thanks.
but it couldn't be much different when you're going to play Frank Martin. It'll be a lot of hand-to-hand combat, I'm guessing, on Wednesday night.
You know, I hope part of my legacy professionally will be that I was a coach's coach. And I don't think in the 14 years that I've been a head coach, I think it's the same number for coach. I'm not sure that any other coach has had as much of an impact on players' lives as coach has. They haven't played a game until today at noon since they played at Houston on December the 5th. And I haven't watched today's game, but I don't think they had their entire team. What I can tell you is the 2 times we played them last year relative to the hand-to-hand combat, they hit us in the mouth repeatedly, and we never, ever, one time, landed a blow. I remember subbing 5 guys out at a time last year in Columbia because we had no fight whatsoever. So no matter who they have relative to the virus eligible to play, we will have to fight the way that we did today in order just to have a chance. Because anytime you play, you know, we until I came here, Coach and I scrimmaged every year, regardless of where he was employed or regardless of where I was employed, because I thought it was such a great rep for our program to see how tough you have to play and how hard you have to play and the hand-to-hand combat involved just to have a chance. And so I thought we failed miserably in that regard last year, maybe more so than the other 16 games that we played in conference.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's all we got for you, Coach. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Merry
Good game, Coach.
Travis. Is Travis's Zoom not working? What's up, Travis?
No, we're in Miami, so I was only able to watch bits and pieces. Yeah, so.
Oh, what time? What time's the game start?
7 y'all's time.
Man, The Eagles got.
Here,
I've never
you
read.
can-
I've never subscribed to the Eagle. They must have a lot of money to send you to Miami.
we hitchhike pretty much.
How much does that hotel cost? You ain't sleeping in the car.
Oh no, we're sleeping in a airport Fairfield, so we're pretty good. Here, you can wave at Here's Olin.
Oh, I can tell you that Tex Ags, they're not staying at no Fairfield at the airport.
No, they're not.
Probably staying next to Coach Fisher. Tell him, Logan, in a suite.
See you, Coach. Happy New Year, Coach.
See ya. Merry Christmas, man.